organized around two main design goals. One is to be approachable and rapidly productive while also being deeply hackable and configurable. So what do I mean by this? Okay, yeah, sorry for that. So yeah, so what is this FastAI? So if you have seen before, if you have come across these two terms before, PyTorch, TensorFlow, do they ring a bell? Have you heard of these terms? PyTorch and TensorFlow, Keras, and all these packages. So these are machine learning libraries, basically. So TensorFlow is one. There's some echo. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, it's all right. Is it good now?
Yeah, it's better now. There was some echo. Yeah. So yeah, TensorFlow is a library from Google. And similarly, PyTorch is a library from Facebook. Both have very similar features, can do very similar things, and both are. So what is this FastAI? So if you have seen, the thing about PyTorch is that it is something which is followed by the academia right now. I mean, the academia is very fond of PyTorch. And this FastAI is a high-level library built on PyTorch and Keras. So it uses something called as a layered architecture. So what it means is that for power developers, for hardcore DL developers, they can use all the low-level stuff which they can do with PyTorch and Keras, and they can build the most powerful models. At the same time, it also has certain high-level APIs that is going to permit the users to experiment and play with the existing models. So as you can see in the right side of the image, yeah. So the high level of the API is most likely to be used by beginners and to practitioners who are mainly interested in applying the pre-existing and trained models, pre-existing deep learning methods. So you can see that there are concise APIs over four main areas. So vision, text, and time series data, collaborative filtering, and tabular data. So these APIs in FastAI, they choose intelligent and default values and behaviors based on all the available information. So let's say you're dealing with some data that you want to deal with. So FastAI is intelligent enough to choose the right set of values, the right default values that it has to do. It is built that intelligent enough. And the mid-level APIs that you see here, they provide the core deep learning library and data processing methods for each of the lower level applications that you see here. And the lower level APIs, they provide a library of optimized primitives, functional and object-oriented foundations that will facilitate this mid-level API functionalities to work. Just ignore all of this. This is like a lot of theory. But let me tell you something. The user can create and train a state-of-the-art machine learning model using transfer learning with just barely 4 lines of code, 4 lines of understandable code. That is all you have to do to build your first neural network. So I'm leaving it here. It's open for you to go and explore now. Just see what is FastAI and how does it enable newcomers, how does it welcome newcomers, and how does it get them started with PyTorch. It's up to you to explore. So let's just go forward. Okay, so this is the repository itself that we are talking about. So you can see the URL there. This is where you will be working with. So every day at 12 a.m., I will be posting one notebook. So everything is Jupyter notebooks over there. You can go to this URL and you can see it for yourself. Everything is Jupyter notebooks. I am maintaining this repository right now. So if you know how that works, so being a contributor and being a maintainer, so I am maintaining this repository. I will put practice questions. I will put the theory and everything over there, and you can go and contribute. So this is the scope, what I've planned for October, and keeping it in sync with HacktoberFest itself. So lesson 0 is all about getting your basics right. All the fundamentals that you need on NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. So lesson 0 is up now. Lesson 1 is about building your first neural network. It is not very complex at all. Anybody can get started with neural networks, and you can build your first network in barely 10 minutes, I would say. It is that simple. And then looking at computer vision problems and image classifications, and then we will see what methods you can follow to build a state-of-the-art model. I mean, how can you optimize it? How can you build a model that is going to be more and more accurate? What are a few techniques that you can follow to make your model more accurate? And then there will be an introduction on collaborative filtering and tabular modeling. So the four APIs that are the four application areas that I was talking about in the high level. So these chapters, lesson 2 to lesson 6, is all about them. And then there will be a small introduction on natural language processing, how to build a text-to-speech engine, speech-to-text engine, and all that. And then a brief introduction on convolutional neural networks. So you will be using this in image classification. Image classification is all about CNNs. And then we'll see a little bit of CNN theory, and then just a little more fundamentals that we've skipped in lesson 0 to lesson 8, just a little bit more. And lesson 10 is about the ethics part. What can you do with machine learning? What can you do with deep learning? And how do you respect data? It's all about the ethics. So 11 chapters, what I planned for now, and every day I will be posting one Jupyter notebook. I will do it as fast as I could. I will be posting one Jupyter notebook. I'll also show how it works. So go to the repository. You will see an issues section. So whenever I post a new notebook, I will also post the list of things that you need to do in that notebook. So this is from the NumPy notebook lesson 0. I've posted what you have to do, what are the to-dos. In the lesson itself, I will be posting them in issues. So you can see which ones are open, and most of them will always remain open because there is always a scope to contribute more. And you can see how many people have contributed to these issues also on the right side. So go to the issues and see what's open, and then go and look at the code itself. So as I was telling you, everything is on Jupyter, everything is Jupyter notebooks. You can open them on Google Colab. You don't even have to install any software on your system. Just open the file, open the code, and click on open in Colab. It's that simple. Look at the code, see where you can contribute, where you can optimize, if there is any question that is left unanswered. This is all in question answer basis. So if there is a question and if you feel that you can write the answer for it, just go and contribute. And yeah, how do you contribute? Go and click on the fork button that you see here. Go to the repository and go and click on the fork button that you see here. It will make a copy of this repository in your directory. And then you make changes in your own repository, the clone of my repository, and then you raise a pull request. So how do you raise a pull request? Come here to my repository, go to pull request, and then just say what you're making, what change you're making, and what kind of changes you've done, and what do you expect me to do? Do you want me to review it, or do you just want me to go through it and merge it? You cite it there, and I'll go through it. And yeah, once I read the code, once I see that the contribution is right, I just accept it and I merge your changes with my repository. So it is that simple, nothing much complex. And I think Fabian will be giving you a better picture of what to do. I'm just giving you a very high level view. Yeah, so that is it. And now if you ask me, where do I find the code itself? And I've never used PyTorch before. I never used FastAI before. I have zero idea on machine learning. Where do I get started? So this textbook, Deep Learning for Coders with FastAI and PyTorch, AI Applications Without a PhD by Jeremy Howard and Sylvain Gaga. This book is the best. The thing is, it is not at all mathematical. It is very, very, very primitive. It's all about code with just the right amount of mathematics that you need to know, matrix multiplication and all that. That's the right level of mathematics that you require. You don't have to purchase the book. The entire book is written in Jupyter Notebooks, and the notebooks are available in this repository, github.com/FastAI/fastbook. Everything is there. You can go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, and for each and every single exercise I post on GitHub, I will also give you where to find the answers and where to look for, what to refer. I will also cite it there. So all of the references, most of them, 95% of them will be from this fastbook only. So better you look into the fastbook and try to read it, because the theory is over here, and the notebooks which I will post in my repository will have pretty much zero theory. It will only give you the summary. So if you need more information, go to this repository. I will also cite the pages. I will also cite the sections that you will have to read. It will really help. And yeah, if you need to know the history of FastAI and what's in current right now, just go to fast.ai. You'll find stuff there. And of course, always just post your questions in our Discord server. We'll be happy to help. And you can connect with your peer people over there. You can connect with your peers and always talk. So join our Discord server. So that is all I wanted to share with you today for getting started with FastAI. And good luck.
Yeah, that was wonderful, Rahul. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, hope we had a good, Kickstarter towards your FastAI library kit. So if there's any doubt, feel free to ping Rahul in Discord. He'll be there to guide you and help you out. And yeah, Rahul, thank you. I think you may. Do you have anything else to say? The others, do you have any questions to ask Rahul?
No, Kevin.
Cool. Yeah. So once again, thank you, Rahul, and, for spending your time with us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the second part of the session will be happening now, and I think Rahul, you had to leave, right?
Yeah, I'll take a leave now. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll start with the second session, the second part of the evening. Sagarika, are you here?
Yes, Fabian.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Furthermore,
So,
yeah, let
sorry?
me finish. Furthermore, this event is all about Hacktoberfest. And of course, some of you know what Hacktoberfest is. But before we get started, let's know what Hacktoberfest is totally all about. And Miss Sagarika will be talking about that. Yeah, go ahead, Sagarika. Yeah, Sagarika. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, Fabian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. A coding patch from beginners like us may be small or tiny in size, but it may be the first meaningful contribution from us to the worldwide bigger open source community. Our Oktoberfest gives us an open invitation to all of us to experience that joy of participation. There are many benefits of open source software implementation and contribution. Like the fragrance of a rose in the air, our contribution may be used somewhere, a sense of empowerment and ownership of the end product. The OSS development approach has helped produce reliable, high quality software quickly and inexpensively. Open source development offers the potential for a more flexible technology and quicker innovation. Open source is not dependent on the company, author, and student or individual that originally created it. Even if the company fails, the code continues to exist and be developed by its users. Here, the user of the open source have different objectives and goals like personal or corporate, hence it speed up the innovation. So let us begin our contribution as a little drop in the fastest stream of OSS, which in turn leads to the mighty ocean, giving abundance of benefits to the society. Open source projects that are hosted in the public cache benefit from contribution made by the broader developer community and are typically managed through Git. Yancey Sproul, the CEO of the DigitalOcean, a cloud computing vendor company that offers an infrastructure as a service platform for software developers, has come up with the most global contribution forum, HacktoberFest, since 2013. HacktoberFest is its eighth year voyage with around 1.3 billion participation from around 135 countries and over 60 companies encouraging and giving back to the open source community. You can prepare and share your project for collaboration or contribute to the betterment of a project via pull requests, organize an event and mentor others. Also, all backgrounds and skill levels are encouraged to complete the challenge. Anyone that runs an open source project on GitHub or GitLab and desires help from the community to improve their project can also join the Oktoberfest. Perks of being part of this fest: You get to be part of the biggest open source event. You get to work with seniors from community like Intel, DigitalOcean, Apprite, and DeepSource. You can win free t-shirts, stickers, and be proud to be a contributor. The way Pattarai encourages us to keep learning, HacktoberFest also organizes and aims to invite the culture of learning and giving to the open source. Thank you. Over to Daniel. Daniel, are you there?
Good evening, guys. I used to be a part of, I mean, I'm still a part of Pattarai technically. I am an alumnus of LICET, and I finished IT engineering like last year. And I now work at a place called Stratforge as a full stack engineer. And Fabian here invited me to talk at this event that we're doing in Pattarai. And so I'm here to basically talk about the best open source projects for you guys to get started. And it's going to be a very short list of the best ones alone. But before we do that, I want to talk about why we should contribute open source and why we're doing this in the first place. Why pick these projects specifically? And I'll give you two examples. One example of the best open system of a really good open system would be Telegram and Signal. Now you guys all use WhatsApp, and you all know Facebook owns WhatsApp, right? But nobody has access to the code. Nobody has access to the encryption. Nobody knows how exactly it works. They keep saying that WhatsApp is the most secure instant messaging platform in the world, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, you can't audit it. You don't know how it works internally, right? Whereas if you look at apps like Telegram and Signal, these guys have made their code open source, so you know exactly what encryption you're using. You know exactly what the backend does. You know how the code works. You know how the app works. You know everything about it. So you can basically audit it yourself, and you can tell that the code is secure and that these apps are actually legit. So building open systems would help people go through your code, would help people learn about the internal workings of your application, and it makes for a good community of developers at the end of the day. Another example would be this is probably like one of the worst examples. You guys, some of you own MacBooks, right, or Apple devices, and if you've noticed that in comparison to owning an Android device, when it comes to repairing that device, if you own an Apple device, you'll be spending a lot more, right? And to give you an example of what I'm talking about, I'll tell you a little story. So there's this dude who owns a shop wherein he used to repair Apple devices. And when people come in, they usually bring their MacBooks in. MacBook doesn't turn on. It's either broken internally, or there's some sort of like hardware glitch. Something has gone wrong and it doesn't turn on. All this guy has to do is open up the MacBook, take out the board inside it, the huge circuit board inside it, inspect the parts, and a small microcontroller or a small piece of that board might be faulty. So all he has to do is replace that part of the board alone. Now, if he does that, the customer is going to spend less than say $25 to $30 on fixing it, right? It's that cheap. Whereas the cost of the entire circuit board inside the MacBook itself would cost about $1,500. Now what Apple did was they realized that people can repair their own products this way. They can just take it to a shop, they can get it done for like super cheap. So Apple doesn't technically make any money off of it, right? So what these guys did was, back then you can go online, you can go on eBay, you can go on Amazon, you can go on any of these online websites, and you can literally order the broken part inside your MacBook. You can literally order it online and then fix it yourself. So what Apple did was they contacted these websites and they said, hey, you're not allowed to sell these to individual customers. As the company, you can sell it only to us. So now what happens is people who own these shops, wherein they could fix MacBooks at like dirt cheap, and customers who had the technical know-how to fix their systems couldn't fix it. So at the end of the day, Apple would charge you guys about $1,500, replace the entire board, and they would basically make more money. And this was by design. If you guys have watched all of the different Steve Jobs movies that have been out there since like, I don't know, 2012, 13-ish, I think. All of these movies talk about how Steve Jobs specifically wanted a closed system and how he didn't want people to be able to, build their own apps. He didn't want people to be able to build their own hardware. He didn't want them to be able to modify it. He was very strict about it. Of course, today you can build your own iOS apps, you can build your own macOS apps and all that. But in terms of hardware, it's still a closed system. And if you look at the way these companies operate, it's very monopolistic, right? It's very like it's almost like corporate bullying. These guys say we own it, and you as a customer don't have any rights or to repair it or to like fix it yourself, you got to come back to us, spend more money, and then we do it for you. So closed systems don't always are not always feasible. They're not always viable for like most people, which is why most people don't own MacBooks, right? It's too costly. It's out of reach for like the general public. So as an engineer, as a developer, I would always recommend us to be able to build systems that are open, to build systems that everybody can contribute to build systems that people can modify, add new features, peer review. Um, at the end of the day, your software gets better, right? That way, which is why I would always encourage you guys to build open source projects, to contribute to open source projects. And I have a small list with me, and I'll start with the most famous ones, and I'll start talking about the less famous ones, or the ones that you guys wouldn't have heard of in the end. So the first one that I want to talk about is Linux. All of you have heard of Linux. I'm pretty sure of that. All of you have heard of Linux. I know a lot of you even use Linux, and in fact, all of you use Linux. Actually, yeah, except people who probably use an iPhone. Everybody uses Linux because if you look at the ecosystem of Linux today, the Android operating system that runs on almost all phones is built on top of Linux, right? So in a way, you are using Linux at the end of the day. And if you look at the code for Linux, Linux is open source. Anybody can download it, anybody can modify it, anybody can redistribute it, repackage it, rebrand it. You can do whatever you want with Linux. And if you look at all of the different Linux distributions that are available on the market today, you have distributions like Ubuntu, Debian, MintOS, Fedora, OpenSUSE. There's so many different ones, right? And even there are so many other Linux distributions built on top of Ubuntu and Debian that have been built by individual developers or individual groups of smaller developers. And all of this is possible only because the code is open source, only because they let you modify it, right? And at the end of the day, what you can do is you can basically modify Linux for your use case. So, for instance, if you look at companies like Facebook and Google, what these guys used to do was they had their own servers, they built their own hardware, and they also wanted to build their own operating system on top of it that was tailor made for their applications alone. So what they ended up doing was they started taking out Linux and they started modifying it and they started deploying it on their servers and they started using Linux, a very custom version of Linux. And at the end of the day, what they saw was greater performance. And every solution in Linux that they built was tailor made to their applications. So at the end of the day, they saved a lot of money. They saved a lot of time and energy. They also saved a lot of manpower by simply downloading free software that was modifiable and using it, right? And that's basically what we should be doing as well. And I'll give you another example. For example, OnePlus, right? Those of you who own a OnePlus device, you guys OnePlus runs on something called Oxygen OS, right? And Oxygen OS is again based on top of Android. It looks exactly like Android. It works like Android. The features are the same. You can install stuff from Google Play Store. All of that is similar, but the only difference is that the entire Oxygen OS thingy isn't owned by Google itself, and this way you can avoid vendor lock-in. Now, I don't know if guys know about this, but there are certain high-profile people, even celebrities, journalists, people in the past who have talked about how Google can use their power to abuse you. So what these guys have ended up what's ended up happening to these guys is that they would wake up one day and they would realize that Google locked them out of their Google account. Now, when Google locks you out of your Google account, you lose access to your phone, you lose access to your photos, you lose access to your drive and any documents that you had in your drive. You lose access to all of your other documents like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any other documents that you had on any of the Google spreadsheet applications, right? I mean, desktop applications, right? And what else happens? You lose access to all of your Play Store apps. You lose access to your games. There's so many things that can go wrong, right? Just by losing access to it. And these guys don't give it back to you. So that way, vendors lock you in. Whereas with open systems, vendors can't really lock you in. You as a user, you have the power to control what you use. You have the power to modify it to be able to do whatever you want with it. There is no vendor lock-in, which is why open systems would always be more preferable than closed systems. And this also comes in handy when you guys are learning cloud computing. If you pick up Linux and contributing to Linux, this will also help you in cloud computing. And with that being said, I'm going to talk about the second open source project that I had in mind, which is OpenStack. I don't know if you guys have heard of OpenStack, but OpenStack is one of the best cloud computing solutions on the market today. Imagine you guys buy physical servers, you buy computer hardware, and you want to turn that into a cloud. You can easily do that by downloading OpenStack and installing it on top of these computers. OpenStack is free to use, and it was built by a company called Rackspace and NASA. You guys know NASA from the American Space Agency, right? So these guys together built the whole OpenStack ecosystem. Today, if you look at OpenStack, these guys have 21 different components, and they give you everything that you require, everything including compute, which is basically your virtual machines, networking, block storage, object storage, databases, DNS search, a whole bunch of stuff. Everything that you would need to like run a proper public or a private cloud comes with OpenStack. And this is the best part is this is free to use. So you guys can go download it today and you can start experimenting with it. So if you guys are interested in learning how the cloud works in depth, you guys can start off with OpenStack. It's that simple. And there's another technology that a lot of people have started, investing in since the lockdown started. You guys should have definitely heard of this cryptocurrency, right? Now, cryptocurrency is built on top of what's known as the blockchain. And the blockchain is basically like it's really complex. It's sort of complex to get into it, so I'm not going to get into it at the moment. But just keep in mind that the blockchain is open source. Anybody can build on top of the blockchain. You can build your own applications today. And if you look at the number of cryptocurrency coins that come into existence, right? You have cat coins, you have Doge coins, you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance coins. There's so many different coins that keep popping up every single day, right? And all of this is possible simply because the blockchain is open source. Anybody can build on top of the blockchain. So at the end of the day, if you learn how to build apps on the blockchain, you can do anything from cryptocurrencies to electronic voting to e-commerce. There's so many options that you'd be open to if you know how to build apps for the blockchain. So this is one of the biggest trends today. And if you get into it, there's a lot of jobs available in the blockchain market as well. And now let's move on to something that a lot of you have used, a term that all of you know, a language that you all have used, Django, right? Django is, again, a Python framework. And the whole idea behind Django itself is that you should be able to build an app extremely fast. Rapid application development is a concept in software engineering, wherein you can build an app extremely fast without having to worry about the technical implementation or, without much time being spent creating components from scratch. Django aims to do that for you. It gives you a lot of things out of the box that you can simply install, configure, and then you're good to go, right? And Django being open source, what you guys can do is you can download Django, you can build a small application in Django, or if you want to say add a new feature to Django, or if you want to modify the main Django library in a way that will improve its performance or add a new essential feature to it, you guys can probably just go to the Django library, do a pull request, add your feature, push it back in, and if the people who maintain Django like it, they're going to take it back, and that's going to be a huge boost on your resume, right? Because on your resume, you can simply tell people that I contributed to the main Django library and hundreds of thousands of developers use it today. It's that simple. So Django is a very good option if you're very new to the whole open source thing and all you know is Python, then this is like one of the best ways for you to get started. Then comes Kubernetes. Kubernetes, okay, this is a technology that is maintained by Google, I think, owned and maintained by Google. And you guys, if you've worked on any cloud like AWS or Azure or I don't know, Google Cloud, you guys would have most definitely created something called a virtual machine, right? Or even in your own computers, if you guys are running some software like VMware or VirtualBox or whatever, you guys would create something called virtual machines, right? And this concept is very common when it comes to cloud computing. This is something that you would learn if you're doing CS or IT. And what Kubernetes aims to do is instead of you having to run multiple VMs, which are very heavy, they help you run something called containers. So containers are like VMs, but it's a lot lighter. And think of containers as virtual environments that you can spawn on a server. You can spawn any number of containers on a server. And Kubernetes helps you manage those containers. And Kubernetes is open source, and it's very flexible. You can learn it. There are jobs that require you to know Kubernetes when you get hired in the IT industry. So Kubernetes is also a very good open source option for you to start learning. There's another one. There's another really good, really famous library. Maybe Rahul might have touched upon that. I don't know. Sure. TensorFlow. I know some of you, I've seen some of the projects that you guys have presented. Some of you have used TensorFlow, right? And the only reason I'm touching on this is because it's got 2,400 contributors, almost 2,400 contributors, and it's got more than 141,000 stars on GitHub. It's that famous. And TensorFlow is now being used by many different big tech companies like Google, Intel, Twitter. All of these guys use TensorFlow. And if you're getting started with fast AI or machine learning or just artificial intelligence in general or data science, you guys can always make use of TensorFlow. You can build your own models. You can host TensorFlow in the cloud. Google Cloud has some really good uh, options for hosting TensorFlow. So TensorFlow is really growing at the moment, and if you're looking to get into AI or ML, this would be a really good option for you to start out with. And let's talk about some two different technologies that you guys most probably haven't heard of, but is being very, very widely used. The first one would be Apache Cassandra. You all know Apache, right? The Apache, again, they make a lot of different products. They make the Apache server, they make Cassandra, they make Hadoop, they make all these different open source, really, really good projects, right? And Cassandra is one of their projects. And you guys, I don't know if you realize it, but you guys use Apache Cassandra probably on a daily basis. To give you an example, Apache Cassandra was originally built by Facebook. Today, Cassandra is being deployed across Apple, Netflix, GitHub, Instagram, and hundreds of other companies, big tech companies. And what Cassandra is at the end of the day is that it's a database basically. It helps you store a huge amount of data across multiple data centers globally, and it helps you manage this data. It helps you recover from faults. For example, if a data center crashes and you lose data, that data is somehow replicated and stored elsewhere. So Apache Cassandra is one of the most powerful databases on the market today, and it's also open source. So you guys can go check that out if you really like the whole concept of databases and you're into that. You can check out Apache Cassandra. So that's about Cassandra. And lastly, we have something called Ansible. Now, Ansible is again a platform that there's a free option, and then there's like there's a self-hosting option and there's a paid option. And if you guys want to download Ansible and build Ansible on your own, you can do that as well. Now, what Ansible does is it is very simple. Think of a company like say Instagram. Instagram has, let's say, 450 employees as of today. When they first started, Instagram had a very small number of employees. They had about, I think, 20 to 30 employees only. Now, out of these 20 to 30 employees, a lot of guys did UI UX design, programming, they built the apps and stuff. But how did Instagram serve millions of people on a daily basis without having to manage servers, without having to manage the hardware, without having to scale servers, without having to manage data centers? How do they do that? This is where tools like Ansible come in. Now, what Ansible helps you do is, imagine you're building a huge application. Imagine you have a team of only 10 people, but you have an application that is being used by 10 million people. How do you use only 10 people? How do you get only 10 people to manage 10 million users and scale that many servers, scale that many computers to serve those many requests? Ansible helps you do this. What Ansible helps you do is it helps you automate. You can just write code and you can upload it, and Ansible will then take that code, sort of like think of it as a configuration. You can tell Ansible, you can say, hey, I need 100 servers being spawned at this exact same moment with this, with these pieces of software on it that can, run at this level of efficiency. And if it crosses that, I want you to spawn another 100 servers. So you get the idea, right? It's basically you're automating infrastructure. You're automating IT infrastructure. If you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but Pattarai has this one project called what was the name of the cloud that we're using? I forgot the name of the cloud.
The open cloud.
Open cloud, yeah, open cloud. And open cloud is built entirely on smartphones, right? And tomorrow, let's say we decide to expand it, we decide to add a whole bunch of hardware, and we don't have people to take care of this hardware, and we have only say one or two people. You can easily leverage Ansible. You can put Ansible on top of it, and Ansible can take care of your entire IT infrastructure automation by itself. All you got to do is just write a configuration, upload it. Ansible does it. And a lot of companies use Ansible today to run their cloud infrastructure. Everyone does it. So that's something that you should probably know if you're trying to get a job as a DevOps engineer or a DevSecOps engineer, or say a site reliability engineer. These are positions that big companies like Google and Amazon hire for. So if you guys are planning to get into that side of the IT industry, Ansible be one of the best tools that you can teach yourself. So that's like a small list of pieces of software that I came up with that I think would help you get started with open source. I know these aren't exactly how do I put it? You wouldn't really call these pieces of software cool in terms of what they what they represent. Because if I told you that you guys can contribute to some open source library like Material UI or say GitHub, then you guys, that sounds exciting, right? It sounds interesting. People know these names, whereas these apps, people don't know them. But if you look at how complex these apps are, these apps would be some of the most complex ones, some of the best ones that you could contribute to in terms of the complexity of the code and in terms of what an impact it would have globally, which is why I picked this entire list. And so think of all the times you spent on websites like Stack Overflow and GitHub. You go, you ask a question, and people people always answer, right? And how do you get that level of knowledge? Have you ever thought of answering questions on Stack Overflow? How do you get that level of knowledge? You contribute to open source. You take all of these libraries that people use on a daily basis, libraries like, I don't know, FastAI libraries, Material UI, I don't know, there's like a whole bunch of different open source libraries, right? Imagine you taking that library and you contributing to open source, contributing to those libraries. At the end of the day, you know exactly how these libraries work. So when people ask questions, you know the exact answer, you know how to help them, and you know how to solve it. You become that good at it, right? So that's one of the other major reasons why I would keep telling you guys to contribute to open source. And best part is you can start today, you can start tonight, and you can even put it on your resume when you apply to bigger places, right? Because a lot of big companies now have started contributing to open source, and when they see the words, I've contributed to this library and I've had these many stars on my GitHub, people get really excited when they see that on your resume, because people want people like that. Simply because if you can do that, it proves that the code you write has really good quality. It proves that the code you write is production ready, and that is very efficient, and that other people can actually use it. So it at the end of the day, you help the community and the community helps you as well. So these are all of the different reasons, major reasons why you should start contributing to open source today. And I hope I hope I've changed at least a few minds, or at least interested a few people to go and experiment with these libraries tonight. So yeah, best of luck as you guys experiment with them. And it's over to you, Phoebe.
Yeah, that was perfect, Daniel. Yeah, in fact, I'm genuinely interested to contribute over these projects that you told before. Yep, and I hope everybody had a good, kickstart experience on how you can contribute to these projects. And we've been talking about the projects that you can contribute over the that have a global scale, right? But let me start with something. Over here at Pattarai, we have been working on almost uh, for a year now, and we've been working on projects that we open sourced recently. So I just wanted to talk about these projects that you can still contribute being here at Pattarai or being a part of Pattarai. So yeah, so some of these projects are still on the working, but let me just show you some of the projects that you can contribute right now in Pattarai that will count towards the contribution for HacktoberFest. So yeah, we've been taking some open source initiatives, and yeah, this is it. So the first project was a newsletter viewer. So this is a very public, repository that you can find on our organization's repositories. It's a simple page flipper PDF viewer that you can use to display your newsletters. We basically thought of using this project to, display our Elevate, the newsletter that we've been releasing every once in a month. So that's there. If you still feel you can contribute to this project, it's always open. Give us a pull request. We'll be reviewing your pull request, and we'll be merging the request. And of course, we have Flask REST API boilerplate. I don't know how many of you use this, but I can like literally say that almost 7 projects have been using the Flask REST API boilerplate at Pattarai. Almost 7 projects started with this boilerplate. This is nothing but it gets you immediately started with Flask and SQL in just a minute. Anybody can start writing Flask APIs and writing stuffs in Python Flask immediately. So it's out there. You can use it. You can contribute to Flask REST API boilerplate, and yeah. So that's from Pattarai. And of course, we've been working on Project Helix. I don't know if the team's here. Project Helix is a workshop hub platform. It's a platform to conduct workshops and boot camps. So Pattarai has been actively working on it. But unlike other projects, this project is going to be entirely open source, and anybody can contribute to this project from Pattarai community or anybody globally. So this project, the other project that I put here, project Caliditas. So this is one of our very old project. This project was, in fact, the first project that we even built. So it's a smart thermometer project. I think many of you know that. Yeah, it's basically an IoT-enabled smart thermometer built on top of Hexstack. It's an ERP built at Pattarai. So it has complete IIM integrations. Anybody can contribute to this firmware that we'll be working on. So yeah, that's that. And finally, we have device status. This is a simple repository that we use at OpenCloud. So you see OpenCloud, right? The cloud that we at Pattarai have been working on. So we've got a lot of nodes. Basically, these are devices that run your entire cloud infrastructure. So we've been working on a platform that can show us the statuses of these devices. So you can of course contribute to that repository if you can. And finally, of course, there are many project repositories out there in Pattarai. So you can go over to GitHub/Pattarai and you can find these repositories and still contribute to. There will be more contributions or there will be more open source projects coming up in the end. We've been working on an open source project ecosystem, to build with this community. So that's it from my side. Pattarai loves open source, and we thought this initiative at HacktoberFest would boost you up. Furthermore, on an exclusive note, we have Crispin to talk about how you can actually do pull request and actually get started with GitHub. The workflow and how you can do it. Crispin, you ready?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. If you
Crispin, I think your voice is breaking.
one second.
Yeah,
Yeah. Am I audible now?
better.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm here to show you how to contribute our repository, not our repository, to all the open source repositories in our world. I'll be showing you just small many things that you need to know about GitHub. Okay. And the agenda goes like this. At first, we'll be looking on to what actually GitHub is, and then we'll be looking into how to make a commit. And before that, what we'll do is we'll just book a repository, okay, and then we'll be committing. And after that, we'll open a pull request, and then we'll just open a pull request and we just merge it with the base branch. Okay, so let's get started. Yeah. What basically GitHub is? GitHub is a provider of internet hosting for software development and version control using Git. I guess most of you have known what Git is, right? It offers distributed version control and source code management functionality. Okay, and plus it has some additional features of its own. Also, GitHub provides access control and several collaboration features such as bug tracking, feature requests, task management, continuous integration, wikis, and a lot more for your every project. Then, now let's get started. Sharing my screen. Yeah, is my screen still? Okay. Yeah. Then let's get started. Yeah, this is a repository that Rahul showed you, right? This is a repository where we'll be learning about FastAI and sort of artificial intelligence. Okay. First, let's get started by forking this repository. Okay. Yeah, you can see this button, right? Fork. Okay. If you click on this fork, what it's asking is where should fork this FastAI repository. And since I'm going to contribute to this repository, I am forking it with my personal account. Okay. And just after forking it, what fork actually is makes an exact copy of what the parent repository has and puts on puts it on into your account. Okay. Then that's it. So you can see that it's my account, and I have FastAI, the same repository what Rahul has. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make some changes in this repository, and we're going to push it, push or ask, propose a request to the parent repository, that is Rahul's repository, that could you please accept my, I have made some changes, can you please accept it? We'll be asking like that, okay? So let's get started. First, this is the repository, and I'm going to make a change in the README file. Since I'm not using VS Code or some text editors now, I'll just use the browser and I'll just edit the files here. But what you actually should do is you should clone this repository and keep it as a local repository in your computer, and you'll be just changing on the files and filling out the to-dos, and you'll be pushing it, right? Okay. Then I'm changing this README file as this. Okay. FastAI First Edition. Okay. See, I have changed a thing. Okay. What Git actually does is it checks all your files, and if something is changed, okay, it is like controlling a version. You can also see like in Google Sheets, Google Slides, and sort of that, right? It's the whole history of all the changes that you've done. So it is actually the same as that. Okay. So now I have made changes, and it asks me to commit changes. Commit is something that, in order to save something, you are giving a description of the change that you have done, and you are pushing it to the repository, local repository that you have. Okay. So what I have done is I have changed the title of the README file. So I am giving a comment like change title. Okay. And if you need an additional description of what exactly this change title does is, you could actually type down here that I've done this, made so and so changes in this thing. Okay. Then it asks me to commit directly to the main branch, or whether I could create a new branch and start up. Because see, branches are something that it is like branches. As you already know what branches, it is a branch from the root branch. Okay. What actually does is, if you want to have a stable version of your repository, you have it in the main branch. Okay. So if you want to test some new features, or you want to experiment some new add-ons to your repository, what you actually do is you do not keep your hands in the stable version. Okay. What you do is you want to clone another thing of the same type of the repository. So you create another branch called something like new branch or feature branch. Okay. This is what this new branch has. It has the exact copy of the master branch, main branch, or the parent branch. Okay. So if you do changes in the new branch, what it does is it just keeps in that environment. So, and after that, if you want to give a pull request, or if you want to merge the two branches, you could actually do. So this branch helps a lot. Okay. So now I'm gonna commit directly to the main branch with this commit change title, and I have committed. Okay, you can see that I have committed the change title commit, and last commit is now I done. You want to see the history? In a sense, you can see last commit Rahul has done initial commit, and now I have changed the new commit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a pull request, and say it's like saying to Rahul that, see, I have done some changes in your repository. If you want to add these things to your own repository, take this. Okay, I'm asking him a request. That's called as pull request. So what I'm going to do is, see, you can actually see here, this branch is one commit ahead of Rahul's main branch. Okay. So what this GitHub does is it calculates the number of commits from my local repository to that of the parent repository, that is Rahul's repository. What this does is, if my commits is my number of commits is greater than that of Rahul's commits, what this says is it is ahead of. It is ahead means you could actually know that you have done something extra than the parent repository. Sometimes it may even show that it is equal with that of Rahul's main branch. Okay. If it is equal means your branch and Rahul's branch is has equal number of commits. And also sometimes it may show you as you are one commit or some commits behind that of Rahul's main branch. So in order to do that, what you'll do is you'll you'll click and you'll fetch and merge. Fetch and merge what does is you will fetch is you actually know the word fetch, right? It'll fetch the data from, it'll fetch the content that is commits that is or push to that parent repository, and it will fetch the things and it will push it to your local repository, right? So since Rahul hasn't done any changes after that, I am the my branch is ahead of Rahul's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this and I'm going to open a pull request. Pull request something like you are going to contribute something to the parent repository. So now I'm clicking pull request. Okay. Now it asks me that I'm going to push it to the base branch, that is main branch, and the branch which I have is also main. Okay, so GitHub actually automatically what it does is it checks whether these two branches has any conflicts or not. If they are both are equal and it doesn't have any conflicts, it says that both are able to merge and it can automatically be merged. Okay, and here it shows that what I have done in the change, what changes I have done in these files. So I have touched the README file, and the red color bar shows that you have deleted something, and the green color bar shows that you have added something. So you can literally see that in the first line, FastAI, I have removed that line. Okay, so it shows in red, and I have added something like HacktoberFest Edition in the new line. So I have one change file with one addition and one deletion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pull request. Okay, so this pull request, what exactly it asks us, it'll ask a title for this pull request. Okay, whether if you have added something like a new feature to it, or a bug, you have fixed some bug or something like that, you will actually put it. For time being, since I did updated the README file, I'm typing like update README. Okay. If you want to leave any comment or want to have a full description of about it, you can also type it. Okay. And then I'm going to create a pull request. Yeah, pull request is created. Now see, it automatically redirects me to the parent repository, that is Rahul's FastAI repository. And see, here there are pull requests, and I have one pull request open. That is what the pull request I made. If you click and see that, the changes I have made, you could see here. Now it is in the hands of Rahul. Okay, Rahul will be looking into this request. He'll be looking at the files change, whatever you did, and if this is a valid pull request, he would automatically he would close this pull request and merge the files change in it with this parent repository. Okay, and that's how actually this pull request is done. And also, if you are thinking on like spamming this pull request or something, like you are having an invalid pull request, what you'll actually do is you'll just close this pull request and you could not contribute to it. Okay? That's it. So make sure you do valid pull request. And also about issues. Issues are something that these are the problems that they have in the repository. Issues can either be done by the owner of the repo or else the users of the repo. Now we could see here that Rahul has have some 8 issues open in it. Okay, like fill README file, creating an array. These are like to-dos for us to complete. Okay, these are like a basic to-dos. Okay, if you want to contribute to this issue, what you actually do is you click on this and you check on what file I have developed will work, and give an description about it. One NumPy essentials, the Python notebook file. What you'll do is you'll do the same as me. You'll forget, you'll clone your PC, and you'll change the code in the lesson. That is in the 0th lesson, this NumPy essentials Python notebook file, and you will give the answers for it, and you will create a pull request, and you'll open it here. See, already you can see that Rahul has closed something like 11 pull requests. Okay, so this is actually what it is. And sometimes Rahul can, the owner of this repo, can also close these issues with the pull request. See, if you are doing something like if you want to fill a README file. Okay, if I'm gonna fill a README file and I'm gonna give a pull request, then what Rahul actually does is, if this request is valid, then he will link this issue to the pull request and he'll close this issue. See, already I think he has done something like fill contributing MD. Okay, okay, yeah, you could see Rahul linked the pull request with this closed issue 9 days ago. See, someone had already gave a pull request, and this pull request validates the issue. So Rahul, what he does is he merged this pull request with the issue, and he merged it with this own parent, this as own repository. Okay, and that's all of it. Happy HacktoberFest. Enjoy contributing to our repo and all the other open source repos around the world. And you ought to know that this is just the basic thing that you need to know for contributing for this HacktoberFest. There are a lot more things you can do with this GitHub. So be sure you get a strong hold of these basic things, basic stuff, and you explore them more. Be a great developer. Okay, I'll be sharing you one link so that it's the GitHub's guide. Okay, there you can actually learn some stuff for playing around with GitHub. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Happy HacktoberFest.
Thank you so much, Crispin. Fabian, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, that'll be all.
Yeah, Fabian?
That'll be all. I don't have anything to say.
Okay, so thank you all for joining for our HacktoberFest event, and kudos to all these speakers who gave us more clear insights on contributing to open source projects, working on it, and working on GitHub commits, pull requests, and everything was really amazing. And teaching us how to contribute to these notebooks on FastAI notebooks and GitHub and ML. Everything was so amazing. Thank you again, and happy HacktoberFest. The feedback form will be posted in the AIML text channel. So we request all of you to fill in the feedback form. Yes, it's posted there. So we request you all to fill in the feedback forms and have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Subiksha, and thank you, Daniel, for coming today and making the day good.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having me, David.
Cool. So yeah, guys, if you have any other questions or if you need any help in solving these contributions or working on it, feel free to tag us on the community help channel. We'll be there to help you out. Yep. Thanks for the day, and hope you have a good evening. Bye bye.
Bye.